Will you show us how you had your hands?
I had him up like this.
You tell us why you had your hands up close to your neck?
Because I saw what he did to Katie and I was scared he was going to do it to me.
The night was still. A cool breeze drifted through the sleepy town of Del Rio, nestled on the Rio Grande in far South Texas. Inside a humble mobile home on the outskirts of town, two young girls slumbered peacefully in their bedroom. Little did they know that a sinister figure was lurking in the shadows, his mind consumed with darkness. As the families in the neighborhood slept, an old pickup truck rumbled down the deserted road, slowing to a stop near the mobile home. A hooded man stepped out, his hands clenched around a vicious weapon. He stealthily crept along the side of the home, searching for an entry point. Peeking through a window, he glimpsed the silhouettes of the sleeping girls within. A twisted smile curled across his wicked face. With a faint jingle of the window latch, the man slid inside the bedroom. A sliver of moonlight reflected off the blade in his grip. He padded silently toward the bottom bunk, where one girl dozed unaware. Slowly, carefully, he lowered beside her trembling form. A muffled cry was all that could escape her lips before her tender throat. Sprayed in the dim glow as the man erupted in a frenzy. Across the bunk, the other girl stirred at the commotion, only to meet the same gruesome fate. But unknown to the one victim still clung to life, faking her demise to avoid drawing his wrath once more. As the man fled into the night, leaving in his wake, the sole survivor dragged herself from the bedroom, escaping to raise the alarm. Thus began the man for one of America's most serial. Police were baffled by the savagery of the crimes, but one brave witness provided vital clues. Through her courage, they soon identified their prime suspect, Tommy Lynn Sells, a drifter and diagnosed psycho who terrorized the nation for decades through a shocking trail of slayings. Join us as we uncover the disturbing case of Tommy Lynn Sells, a depraved predator whose legacy of will never be forgotten. Hello folks, and welcome back to Crimeco. Here, we analyze some of the most horrifying true crime cases from around the globe, providing you with the most current and detailed information. If this piques your interest, make sure to subscribe and don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Your likes greatly contribute to the success of our channel. Thank you for your support, and now let's delve into the topic at hand. Born in 1964 in Oakland, California, Sells endured a tragic childhood marred by abuse and family instability.
I know what I went through as a child, the reality of who I was and what was done to me. I never wanted that to happen to another person.
His presumed father died when he was young, and Sells contracted meningitis alongside his twin sister at just 18 months old. Tragically, the illness took his sister's life, leaving Sells to shoulder the unimaginable grief as an infant. Shortly after, the troubled boy was sent to live with his aunt in rural Missouri, but it seems even family could not escape Sells' destructive nature. Records show he molested his own mother as a teenager, causing her to finally cut ties with her troubled son. Adrift and abandoned, Sells spiraled into a life of crime, running with fake and learning the violence of a transient criminal at a tender age. By his late teens, Sells was living on the fringes of society, hopping freight trains and survive across America. His first arrest came in 1982 for public intoxication in Missouri. In the following years, reports of disturbing acts began to surface wherever Sells roamed, from a woman in West Virginia to Grand Theft Auto in Wyoming. His after-school jobs never lasted long, and Sells spent months behind bars, only to re-emerge angrier and more violent than before. His turmoil escalated on a warm spring day in 1992, when 19-year-old Fabienne Witherspoon offered Sells a ride home after spotting his sign along a West Virginia highway. Little did she know her kindness would unleash a savage. Sells savagely beat and Witherspoon in her home, leaving her for dead with injuries so severe she required extensive surgery.
First time I killed somebody, it was such a rush. It was just like that shot of dope. Every time I did it, it was that rush again.
He was sentenced to 5 years over the his most serious offense to date. Behind bars, psychiatrists diagnosed Sells with an array of disturbing conditions: antisocial personality disorder, schizoid features, bipolar disorder, and severe substance use problems. In their opinion, he was a highly dangerous individual prone to violent outbursts. But as the 1990s drew to a close, Sells' desires had reached a boiling point that could no longer be contained. Released from prison in 1997, Sells drifted west and settled in Tennessee briefly. But domestic life did not suit his psyche, and within a year he abandoned his wife to resume his route travels across the country. Along the way, Sells left a string of unsolved missing persons cases in his wake. Young women and children who vanished without a trace in towns from Texas to Oregon. His acts escalated over time, graduating from a to horrid murder. Sells confessed to mother and son in Missouri with their own baseball bat in 1985 after meeting them at a carnival.
I like to watch the eyes fade, the pupil fade.
What do you like about that?
It's just like setting their soul free.
By late 1999, Sells' nomadic path had led him to the small border town of Del Rio. There he crossed paths with Terry Harris, a local acquaintance struggling with family troubles. Sells, ever the posed as a friendly ear and potential benefactor. Little did Harris know the evil that lurked beneath the surface of his polite neighbor. In the frigid early hours of New Year's Eve, Sells slipped into the Harris home through an open window. Prowling the bedrooms, he came upon 2 young girls sleeping peacefully, 13-year-old Kaylee Harris and her 10-year-old friend Crystal Searles. But Sells' visit would rouse them from their dreams in the most horrific of ways. Awakened by muffled screams in the night, nearby residents rushed to the aid of a petite figure staggering from the Harris trailer, her throat slashed and clothing soaked through with. It was little Crystal Searles, who feigned death to escape with her life. Her harrowing testimony would soon point the finger at Tommy Lynn Sells, the smiling salesman hiding a monstrous soul. His deadly crimes against innocence had been uncovered at last in this sleepy Texas town, thrusting Sells into the greatest moment of his wicked life. Held at the Del Rio police station, officers faced the immense challenge of interrogating one of the craftiest they had ever encountered. Despite mounting evidence against him, Sells played coy, denying involvement through sly half-smiles and vague statements.
The stick element in Sells' crime, some of them, that is way beyond what you see in the crimes of a number of the other serial killers.
However, one key factor would break his composure: the life-changing bravery displayed by young Crystal Searles. Though only a child herself, Crystal withstood unspeakable terror to guide investigators toward her. From her hospital bed, she provided visual clues which a police sketch artist transformed into a portrait. And when shown a photo lineup containing Sells', Crystal pointed him out without hesitation. Her resilience in the face of evil shook Sells to the core, shattering his facade. In a rush of confessions, Sells admitted not only to Crystal, but to her friend, Kayleen, in a depraved and brutal fashion. He recounted slitting the girl's throat repeatedly before plunging 16 times into her tiny body. Such grotesque acts seemed beyond the darkest imaginations. Yet Sells spoke them with an unnerving casualness that chilled officers to their core. Further testimony painted an even more depraved individual. Sells divulged lurid dreams involving claiming childhood molestation warped him from a young age. Psych evaluations found him a antisocial displaying no emotion or empathy. What shocked police most was not Sells' confession, but his eagerness to discuss more across several states.
Couldn't help but be grateful for the glass between us.
I don't have no feelings no more, no emotion.
With perception of his innocence at stake, Sells began dropping cryptic hints about victims whose fates remained unknown. The realization that a single may have dozens undetected opened the floodgates of a horrific nationwide manhunt.
10,
Yeah,
20,
probably.
30,
It's up there.
50.
It's been a lot.
In Del Rio, justice came swiftly as prosecutors saw Sells condemned to death. But as lawmen traveled to interview their suspect, even darker secrets would surface from the recesses of Sells' wayward life. For beneath the veneer of civility, his soul had been saturated in since adolescence. And immersed in depravity as he was, Sells' monstrous acts numbered far beyond what any investigator first fathomed. Just how extensive was Tommy Lynn Sells' across the USA? By lifting the veil on his past, the startling scope of his decades-long would finally come into full view. News of Sells' confessions sent alarms ringing in police stations across the country. Cold case detectives dusted off unsolved missing persons files, scouring for any link to the incarcerated. Slowly but surely, overlooked clues and unidentified remains were stemming back to Sells with troubling frequency. Crisscrossing America by hopping freight trains, the transient criminal left an intermittent but lethal trail. His earliest alleged murder occurred in Mississippi at age 15, when Sells claimed to have seen a man performing a sex act on a boy. In the following years, more casualties piled up. A man bludgeoned to death in Missouri, 2 family members battered beyond recognition in an Illinois home. Through it all, Sells maintained a nomadic existence on society's fringes, working odd jobs or thumbing for his next ride. Whatever money he accrued went straight into fueling substance dependencies. By his mid-20s, Sells was in and out of jails across the West for petty theft and public intoxication. It was during one such 1990 stint behind bars that clues surfaced connecting Sells to the double homicide of a Missouri mother and son. Meticulous forensic matching would later corroborate the grisly crime scene aligned with Sells' account, given with vividness years later. The trail went cold until 1987, when 4 people vanished without a trace from rural Illinois. Aside from signs of struggle, the home gave up no clues until Sells came forward a decade later, recounting the family's slaughter in gruesome detail down to their autopsy findings. Between suspected slayings, Sells maintained his nomadic lifestyle. He admitted on a hitchhiker in Nevada, dissolving her body in concrete before dumping her remains in bubbling hot springs. Another transient woman fell to his outside Reno, her dismembered frame lost to the earth. This was but the tip of the iceberg in Sells' decade-spanning spree across our nation. With crimes numbering over 24 by his own admission, how many souls truly perished by his blood-stained hands? As the 1990s drew to a close, Sells' madness appeared to reach a fever pitch. His murders grew steadily more depraved, targeting ever younger victims in horrific assaults. In 1999, he broke into a Tennessee home and savagely murdered mother and child before fleeing, undetected, into the night. Barely a month later, a little 9-year-old girl was snatched from a Texas festival, her mutilated corpse callously discarded in a creek bed. That same year, Sells resurfaced in Kentucky, where he abducted and raped a junior high student, leaving her lifeless body concealed in debris of the forest floor. Evading capture through guile and intimidation had become second nature for the cunning who blended into communities before vanishing without a trace. Throughout 1999, Ripper-esque murder surfaced across the region with haunting frequency, selling his twisted stories for and closure alike. Sells confessed to a 14-year-old seized from an Oklahoma gas station before meeting her tragic end. It seemed wherever Sells roamed, a trail of young bodies materialized in his detective wake, and with victims across a dozen states, identifying this shadowy reaper struck fear into the hearts of parents nationwide. For all Sells claims exceeding 70 victims nationwide, only fewer than 30 could be officially corroborated over 3 decades on the run. How many innocent lives did he truly destroy through cunning or sheer opportunism under law's radar? As Sells expounded on intimate crime scene details without remorse in media interviews, a nation shuddered at the devastating scope of his courage. Closure arrived for some, yet others were left with aching perpetual mysteries no confession could alleviate. At last, 14 years after the savage that sealed his fate, Tommy Lynn Sells' execution date was set in the heart of Huntsville, Texas on April 3, 2014. After decades of lives across these United States with the ghost of his madness, justice would be done. On that brisk spring morning, Sells awoke in his solitary death cell for the final time. He calmly ate his last meal and made sparse preparations, seemingly detached from the definitive end encroaching. Word of his impending action drew protesters on both sides to Huntsville as night fell. Supporters praying for him flanked opponents rallying for Sells' spared life, tensions mounting under flashing camera lights. Within the prison's sterile chamber, families of the filtering in to witness justice's stern hand. Their Kaylee Harris father and brother steeled to watch the venomous man who stole her future exhale his last breath. At 6 p.m., Sells was escorted in, strapped supine to the gurney. Asked his final words, he simply met witness eyes with an indifferent smile and refusal to speak. The gently stole through his psyche as observers held their breath. 1 minute elapsed before rhythmic snores gave way to stillness under medical gaze. At 6:27 p.m., Sells was pronounced expired, his presence purged from this world in a fleeting mercy his victim never knew. Thus ended one of America's most and elusive serial killers, disappearing into the dark vortex he emerged from decades prior. While closure came for some, others were left searching for shadows of the lives snuffed out in Sells' path of crime. Though justice vanquished this singular evil, it could never restore the innocent souls or soothe scars left by immeasurable horrors witnessed through his decades upon our soil. All that remains is to honor memory of the lost and ensure such demons never walk our earth again to destroy what we hold most dear. The saga of Tommy Lynn Sells has come to its chilling conclusion, but his tragic legacy will endure, a grim reminder of humanity's capacity for depravity and those blessed lives it extinguished far too soon, leaving us all to wonder darkly at the monsters that still lurk within our unseen shadows until their time, too, has come to end. Remember to show your support by liking, subscribing, and hitting the notification bell, so you can stay updated with the latest true crime cases. We value your presence in our community as we delve into the mysteries that captivate us all. Stay curious, and always remember that justice may remain concealed in the darkest corners. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.